Well, first of all, I've never been so glad that that light was not red a while ago, but I'll let y'all figure that out. But I'll never forget the first time that happened. I don't know, I couldn't remember if I was interim or the guy, and I just thought, I bet, because that's probably back then, Nikita, I bet they're wondering where, and then Nikita had, ironically, the same look when I came around. Oh, okay, I thought we were about to sing another song.
I was looking. See,
Yeah,
I had you
I
covered.
appreciate it. I thought about thinking, since we've had some visitors, that I had like intro music and come from the back, but I didn't do that. I don't do that, but do that on the first Sunday. Just kidding. No, but it is funny because you start. So this past week I was in San Marcos for work, and I don't know if it was fortunate. I didn't even look at it. I had to moderate the conference and introduce who was speaking and all those things. And I said, I always encourage you to silence phones and all that. And sure enough, I said, for the silence our phones, and we start talking, like 35, 40 seconds later, somebody's phone went off. And everybody thought I planned it. I did not. And so then when I left a while ago, I'm a real big believer. My phone, for the record, is always pretty much on silent unless I've got Facebook standby for the co-op. And so my orange line's always there. So yeah, it's always good to make sure your orange line is there and that the light is not red. So anyway, a couple things. Want to remind you there is, I was saying a while ago, but there is a luncheon after. So please stick around. Visitors, guests, regulars, all the things. Be good food. Cowboys don't play today, so you don't have to get your heart broke. That'll preach, Russ. So they didn't play last week. They didn't play the last 3 weeks. In fact, if they play at home, it's a problem. Hey, for the record, no, I did bring the sports. We joked on how soon I brought a sports reference up in Sunday school. It's pretty quick. So anyway, be sure you stick around, be good Mexican food, and hang out, and all those things. So this morning I started thinking about some illustrations and some things to talk, and we're talking about a topic that I think in Sunday school. I want to encourage you. I do want to encourage you. Sunday school at 10 o'clock. We got breakfast. Even I'm making it. Well, kind of. The microwave's doing a lot of it, but still pretty good. 10 o'clock. It's a lot of fun stuff, and we're going through Acts. And kind of to keep with it, and we've talked about it in the book, sometimes it'll go from one spot of Acts and maybe skip. And so I've kind of gone back and tried to preach out of the stuff that they not necessarily miss, that they just don't cover. And I started thinking about it, and there's a word, you know me, if you've been around the 3 years I've been here, if I see a word and read it, I get hung up on it, and that's kind of where we're going to be today. And it's two words. Well, one word's filled, and the other one is jealousy. And when I started thinking about capacity and filled, here's the definition of capacity: the maximum amount that something can contain, or the maximum amount that something can produce. Now, I don't know about you when it comes to capacity. We've got a lot of different options for things. I don't know what your favorite beverage is. I don't know if there's if you go to Starbucks and you order one of those things that sound like it's a foreign language, like double mocha, aka chocolate, whatever, or grande. Like there ought to be Rosetta Stone for ordering for Starbucks. But the capacity is what it can hold, what it can contain. And so I'm really glad that we have the little nub waters. So this one, 16.9 ounces is full. Obviously, you don't see it full right now. Now, if you feel like, I don't know why this became, I guess because it's little baby shower, he's ready for a little baby shower. Baby shower waters. 10. We got 10. Now, I know Squirt's back there getting stuff ready for the lunch that all of you are going to stay and eat, but that just kind of makes you mad. If you're a Dr. Pepper person, this just kind of makes you mad. 7.5. Now, this can hold 7.5. This is the most. Now, for people like me and Squirt, it's going to be more than 7.5. We're going to be rounding up to 15. but how much we can be filled with. How much can we fill? What is our capacity? What can we hold? And as I started thinking about it, we're looking at a story today. You can turn to Acts chapter 5. The good thing is I've got plenty to drink if I get thirsty through the service. But we look at being filled. And what I think is funny, how many of you break off the stuff and pour it in your water? How many of you ever put the little packets and pour it in? Anybody do that? You know what I think is hilarious? You've got to drink a little bit out of this to put it in. Try it, Mom. It's going to spill if you don't. You have to drink a little bit to put it in, because even then, whatever you're putting in that they're telling you, and it's just fine, because it tastes, some of us don't like water. They need a little flavor. The Starburst ones are good. I don't think they're healthy, but they're good. It tells you you need more. It's not enough. But today I'm telling you, when we start looking at it, and the reason we're talking about filled, and the reason we're talking about jealousy, is we see two different times where the word is filled, jealousy, and then filled with something else in our passage. And so we're in Acts chapter 5, beginning with verse 17. And leading up, now remember, we've got this guy, he's been healed, he was lame for birth, he's been healed, he's good, the church is starting, the people outside are not liking the fact that things are changing. Peter and John and these disciples, apostles that were with Jesus, are saying, hey, you crucified Jesus, this way of life that you've been living is different. We're telling you about the gospel, but they're not big fans. And so, verse 17. Then the high priest and all the associates who were members of the party of the Sadducees were filled with jealousy. They arrested the apostles and put them in the public jail. But during the night, an angel of the Lord opened the doors of the jail and brought them out. Go stand in the temple courts, he said, and tell the people all about this new life. And at break, they entered the temple courts as they had been told and began to teach the people. I told you that capacity is be the maximum fill. What I can hold, what I can produce. It says here, Luke writes, that the people that were anti-Jesus, anti the way, anti what was going on, were filled with jealousy. Jealousy's definition is feeling of unhappiness and anger that can arise when someone wants something or someone wants something that someone else has. Now, jealousy, it's a dangerous thing. And all of us, maybe if not, if you've never been jealous in your life, raise your hand and write a book. Because it can filter in. And so we look here and it says that these guys, they're important people in the community, but they are filled with jealousy. They're filled with jealousy because things are not going the way they want. They are unhappy with the situation that they're in. They're angry. They're mad. We saw earlier today in Sunday school, they end up flogging and beating these guys. But jealousy can be a very, very dangerous thing when we let it grow. And I ask you, and again, I don't think any of us doesn't get into this. There's a lot of things that we can be jealous about. We can be jealous from a financial situation. We can be jealous from a people relationship. I want what they have. I want what they've got. I want to change. I want something different. And we start doing that. A lot of times jealousy is because we're insecure where we're at. And I think these guys here, they're insecure. And as we talked about again, you're going to hear a lot about Sunday school. They're insecure because their way of life is about to change. You're telling them, hey, we don't want to change. You're coming in here telling us this way, and you're telling us we've got to start following this Jesus guy, and you're telling me this. They get insecure. And a lot of us, when jealousy starts to come out of us, that's a lot of it. We get insecure about where we're at because we're designed to want, our nature is to want more. Our nature is to want more. But when we start detracting what that want more is, away from how do I do what I got to go be the best that I can be for the Lord, jealousy starts creeping in and our insecurities grow. The other thing that can create that jealousy is what influences us. If we're watching certain shows, if we're being around certain people, a lot of times those things can influence in a way that we get jealous because, well, that's telling me what I should have. If I don't live in this house, if I don't have this kind of car, if I don't have this kind of marriage, if I don't have this kind of deal, I'm wrong. Or if I'm not doing this, I'm the person that's going down the wrong way. But jealousy can be a problem. And when it does, it produces negative attitude. You've never been up to somebody that you're jealous with, man, I love that you got this going on in your life. You're kind of like that person that's at a drawing. Have you ever been at a drawing and they say, all right, the winner is Nikita, and everybody's like, yeah, and then internally like, wish it was me. I'm like, yay, congratulations. But that's what starts happening when jealousy starts creeping into us. We start feeling negative about those people. Have you ever been around people that aren't happy for people that get success? They're like, man, they got success again. Can't believe it worked out for them. I can't believe they got this. Because then we start coveting, then we start comparing circumstances like, well, have you ever been around those people? Well, I just hope something bad happens to them so they can experience it. Oh. But that's what, when we start getting jealous and we start focusing, we talked about awe a few months ago about how when our awe of God starts going awe of self, jealousy can be very, very dangerous. We pull away from people. And I know when we think about jealousy, a lot of times we think about material things. But there are people out there that sometimes jealousy can be of relationships, their walk with God. Oh, they just seem they're so close with Jesus. I just wish I had what they had. Well, at some point, you have to understand, and it's no different with these Sadducees. You and I have a responsibility of what we do for ourselves. You and I have a responsibility. Hey, there's some things, if I wanted to be an NBA player, it's not happening. If I wanted, now, there are certain things that we put in our way and we get upset. That's like, don't try to control the things that you can't control. But control the things that you can. So jealousy can be tough. Now, how do you handle jealousy when it's toward you? You're like, well, nobody's ever been jealous of me. You'll be surprised on how you carry yourself, how people see you, because it's the same way. If I put on jealousy and I go toward people and I want to say this and I want to say that and I'm negative and all that, there are people that may bring that to you. And we see that with this group of people where the jealousy comes toward them. Because here's the thing, sharing our faith is one of the most dynamic things we have. Sharing our enthusiasm, sharing our positivity, sharing our goodness, enjoying life. There are people that could be jealous of you. How do you handle it? There's a lot of reasons why people may get jealous. One, they're afraid. Now, why would anybody be afraid? Why would jealousy create fear? Jealousy will create fear, just like for these guys that were jealous of the apostles. Fear is, I don't know if I can change. Change is hard. If you're trying to do something, we were talking about journaling, and you think that's hard. Some people journal well. My buddy Grant Boone, coffee and journal and Joe. Cup of Joe with coffee and he journals. But I say all this when people get jealous. Change is hard. When you start encouraging people to change, or you start thinking about changing, and people come to you and they're jealous of you and they treat you different, because we were talking about persecution in Sunday school. The reason sometimes not only insecurity, but people are afraid to change. Because we don't know what that change, we think it's good. We think it sounds great. We think if we change, and sometimes even when you're convicted of that change, it's hard to make it. But sometimes that jealousy will create change. One of the toughest things that I hate, and I'm having to do it, I don't want to reveal it on too much on, I guess, social media. How many of you have had to change your email address? Or change a debit card or a cell phone? That's one of the worst things. I mean, you might as well do something. Because now, how many of you have something from that card that gets taken out? How many of you have, everybody has that cell phone, and now when you call them, they think you're calling them and telling them they want a sweepstakes because they don't have your number in your phone. But change is hard. Change is hard, even down to the email, down to this, all those things. Changes are hard. And people are afraid not only about the change, but some of them literally think they can't. They get jealous, like, well, I just can't do what you do. And they start making excuses, and some people really believe they can't. And that's why you see people throwing in the towel. Most people, the reason they run from change, the reason they get jealous of people that change, is because they think they can't. And I want to tell you, I couldn't have changed without God. When you start realizing why things happen, and yes, you can do those. We've been talking about, yes, you can be bold. Yes, you can share your faith. Yes, you can go do. When you listen to the Lord and believe and be convinced of who He is and who He says you are, you can change. When we get afraid, we get involved, we run away. Let's keep reading. When the high priest and his associates arrived, they called together the Sanhedrin, the full assembly of the elders. Guys, again, don't get their arrested. He sent to the jail for the apostles. But on arriving at the jail, the officers did not find them there. So they went back and reported. We found the jail securely locked, with the guards standing at the doors. But when we opened them, we found no one inside. On hearing this report, the captain of the temple guard and the chief priests were at a loss, wondering what this might lead to. Then someone came and said, "Look, the men you put in jail are standing in the temple courts teaching the people." At that, the captain went with his officers and brought the apostles. They did not use force because they feared that the people would stone them. Verse 27, the apostles were brought in and made to appear before the Sanhedrin to be questioned by the high priest. We gave you strict orders not to teach in his name. Yet you have filled, here's that word filled again, you have filled Jerusalem with your teaching and determined to make us guilty of this man's blood. Jealousy, when you crave and thrive on what other people have and what you don't, jealousy will put you in mental, jealousy will put you in fatigue, jealousy will put you in, you feel it in jail. When you let jealousy run your thoughts, it will put you and feel like you're in jail. Because all you're doing is, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. See, what the Word of God and what the grace of God wants you to do is understand, you are who you are and the door is open. We are opening the door for you to go be you. I have created you to be you. Now, you have a responsibility to go do it. If you've got a dream, and you got something you want to do, not because you're jealous of somebody else, but what you want to do, it's your responsibility to go. It was Peter's job and responsibility when that angel opened the door to go out to the temple, go out and to teach this new life. So my encouragement to us is understand, let the door open. Jealousy wants to handcuff you. Jealousy wants to hold you back. Jealousy wants you to think, if I'm not like them, I'm not good enough. If I don't have this, I'm not worthy enough. If I don't get my stuff fixed, I'm not worthy enough. And Jesus is saying, yes, you're worthy. Yes, you deserve this. And you know what? The door is open. Go. The door is open. Go. And finally, jealousy can lead us to forget about that new life we got with Jesus. And so, as we think about being filled, and I love at the end it says, those guys say, those people out there, hey, you're filling Jerusalem with this teaching. You're not filling Jerusalem with jealousy. You're filling Jerusalem with this teaching about Jesus. And when I hear that, that means they are doing something well. They're doing something right. And I'm not going to take this as my own. This past week, we had the fortunate of having Brad McCoy speak at our conference this week. Brad McCoy is the dad of 3 sons, one pretty famous one, Colt McCoy. Played quarterback at Jim Ned, then played quarterback at Texas, played in the NFL for a little bit. And Brad was telling a story. He said Colt had come home and they were up in the room and the 2 younger sons were playing on the team that Brad was currently coaching. And Brad walked up and came by the room and he heard Colt talking to the other 2 sons, his brothers, and just asking, what's it like in Texas? How is it there? What are you going through? What is all this? I mean, Colt ended up from a small town, Tuscola, Texas, ended up kind of becoming, you could be jealous of what he did. Don't be, because it won't get you anywhere. But he was listening, and Colt said, man, guys, just be sure you're the river, not the flood. And Brad even said, that's pretty good, Colt, keep talking. Be the river, not the flood. Because see, the river does what? It flows. Some of them need rain, but the river flows. And it stays within, and it does what it's supposed to do, and you can fish out of them, and you could raft them if you want, if you're into that stuff. You can do a lot of things when that river's flowing, and it's good. But when we start putting stuff in that it's not supposed to, and it floods, we've seen it the last few weeks, floods destroy. Floods destruct. And so it's important, there's nothing wrong with taking a little sip, pouring in your drink, and giving flavor to that water. But I want us to be, and me including, that's what I wrote down. I listened to Brad yesterday, or Friday. I want to be the river. Because as the river, I'm not letting the other junk get into my cup. I'm not letting the other stuff come in. That when I do flow, if jealousy overflows, you can destroy relationships. If anger overflows, you can destroy relationships. If you let the enemy win, you put whatever you want in your river. When it starts to get out of the river bank, it's a problem. And so I want to encourage you. Don't let jealousy creep in. Know that God created you on purpose for a purpose. Today was made for you to go to love the Lord, make Him known. That doesn't mean you don't need to have dreams. If you've got dreams, go do it. Whatever it is. But don't let jealousy creep in. And when people come to you, ask them, how kind of jealous of what you got? Tell them why you've got what you got. Man, I worked my tail off. I worked really hard for what I got. It took me a long time to get here. Whatever that is, and then share with them and let that door open to share the gospel. I'm going to let Pat's going to play. You can stand and sit, whatever you need to do. But as she plays, I just want to encourage you. If you don't get anything out of it, and again, I'm not taking credit for it, be the river, not the flood. And don't settle. Yes, you can stand. You can stand. Go ahead. Don't settle for it. Don't settle for anything less. And I ask you, what's your capacity? Are you full? Do you need refilling? Whatever it is, you come as Pat.